In this video, we are going to talk about why fearful avoidance can be very empathetic. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because maybe you are a fearful avoidant and you don't see yourself as really empathetic, or you know you can be, but it's definitely not always. And you're wondering, but why then can I also be so mean, really? Because fearful avoidance can be mean too. And maybe you're dating a fearful avoidant and you just want to understand them a little bit better. So, fearful avoidants definitely have an amazing capacity to be empathetic. They have an amazing capacity to tune in and to really see somebody's point of view and really feel what they are feeling, and that all has to do with the trauma they endured um and the broad range of human emotions and experiences they have gone through. Somebody who is securely attached will have much harder time really standing in the shoes of somebody else and being able to really understand and feel how they are feeling, and therefore they will be less able to um, really be there for them in a healthy way. So, that being said, that fearful avoidants have this amazing ability to feel, let other people be feel heard and seen and understood. They definitely don't always portray this. Why is that? If they can be so empathetic, why don't they always do that? And then also, if they can be so empathetic and they can really understand other people's feelings and almost feel them, why are they then so mean sometimes? And I remember that I it would feel so normal to be really angry and mean in the moment, and then afterwards I sometimes would feel very guilty, and to be really honest, sometimes I wouldn't, because I thought anger was normal, meanness was normal, and I would feel kind of disrespect for my boyfriend, to that he couldn't handle it, like he wasn't a man. This is very toxic behavior, just to be just to be absolutely clear. um but the more I healed, the more I definitely felt guilty after I would have lashed out or have been mean to him. um so why do fearful avoidants have such a hard time being empathetic always? Well, just because you have the capacity for empathy, that does not mean that you can access that in every moment. Um, and when you are in survival mode, in flight or fight mode, you cannot access empathy. It is so hard to do because you are only focusing on survival, on yourself, on managing the threat, on getting away, on protecting yourself. And there is no possibility for empathy in that. So when a fearful avoidant is mean or lashes out, they are in survival mode. They are in fight or flight mode. This is not the time to fight. This is not the time to make them see things. This is not the time to get them to see your perspective, your side of the story, because they are just not capable of doing that, even though, again, they have this amazing capacity to do that. I know this can be so confusing for you as a fearful avoidant, and for a partner. It can be so confusing that sometimes the empathy is there and sometimes it's just not there. But now you know that when it's not there, you, the fearful avoidant, are in fight or flight mode. You are in survival mode. And it is really important that you find a way to calm yourself and to reassure yourself and to feel safe again. And one of the ways I did that was by just taking kind of a break and breathing. but also EFT, the emotional freedom technique. I talk about that a lot because it pretty much saved my life. I don't say that lightly. Um, and I would just tap on it. If I would feel like in a panic mode, I would tap, and that would really help. And then later on, I would try to be empathetic. And I noticed the more I healed, the more I was capable of being empathetic and really, really seeing somebody else's perspective. Because as long as you are not healed, you tend to take things personally. And so when somebody else is hurting, you think, that's my responsibility, that's on me, that's my fault. And all of that stands in the way of connection. All of that stands in the way of you really empathizing with somebody, because empathy is not taking on their pain and fixing it for them and taking responsibility for somebody else's pain. It means holding on to yourself and holding space for somebody else's pain. So taking responsibility for somebody's pain is different from taking responsibility for your own behavior. If somebody tells you, hey, this is what you did and that hurt me, then that means that you can take responsibility for your behavior. But if somebody shares their pain, and it could be about something completely different, and you feel like you have to fix that and you have to be their savior, that's taking responsibility for their pain. And that is not necessarily a healthy thing, because then it's really hard to empathize, and it's also putting pressure on that other person to not have that pain, because if they can continue having pain, then that means you fail. And for a fearful avoidant, that is a trigger. And so then you pull back, you pull away, or you even get angry or frustrated with that person. So empathy is a beautiful thing, and you absolutely have the capacity for it, even if it's really hard to access now. If you notice that it is hard to access, that just means that there's healing to be done. And that's so logical and completely fine. You don't owe anybody your empathy. You don't owe anybody your ability to be there for them. That is just something you have inside of you that will come out naturally when you heal and once you've healed. And so give yourself grace. You are not a mean person. You are not a bad person just because you happen to be mean. And happen to do things that might hurt others. All of that comes from trauma. All of that comes from pain. That doesn't mean that that's an excuse. We absolutely take responsibility for our behavior, but do give yourself grace and know that this is not who you are. This is just a consequence of the trauma you endured, and we're healing that. That's why you're watching this video. You are already taking responsibility. So that's amazing. And when you heal, you will be able to empathize more and more on your terms, if you want to, when you want to, and when you have the emotional space and capacity. Either way, whether you empathize or not, whether you can be there for somebody or not, whether you can hold space for somebody or not, you are valuable. You don't have to do anything to be valuable. And that is why it is absolutely okay to focus on you and focus on your healing. You don't owe anybody anything, and you are valuable right now as you are right now, with everything you have to give and everything you don't. You don't have to heal to be worthy. You don't have to heal to be valuable. You already are. You have always been. So you get to heal for your freedom, for your happiness. And I so wish that for you. If you want to heal, if you want me to guide you, which would be my absolute honor, you can check out my program, Healed and Happy. There's a link in the description. You don't have to, because you heal regardless. You're watching these videos. I know you can. I know the wisdom of your body can and will help you. It's just here. I'm here if you need me, if you want me to help you, if you want me to guide you step by step. As always, I'm so incredibly happy that you are here, and I will see you in the next one.